if you look down, there's already 130 kilometers on this bike. And that's because this isn't a test ride, this is mine. So a major reason I came to Japan was for my love of Japanese motorcycles and the build quality. So that leaves us with the fun question of why am I riding a Triumph Street Triple and why did I buy a Triumph? I figured I could explain all that to you while I'm riding to Mount Fuji, because I also moved to Tokyo recently. You know, why not go to Fuji? And so far the road is tremendous. Full of bikes, full of traffic, but this is a road you can enjoy at any speed, so good times. I test rode a Honda CB. Sorry I don't have a video for that. And I took a brief ride on a Suzuki SV650, but I figured it was just a little too similar to the Vstrom that I just got rid of. I looked into the MT-07. It didn't fit well with me, and I have personal issues with Yamaha. But then it came down to the Street Triple, which I'm on, the 660S, and the Triumph Trident. The Trident and the Street Triple are very similar with a few exceptions. And I will say that if you're getting your first bike, the Trident is definitely a great choice. If you're not getting your first bike, I wouldn't get the Trident because of the throttle. I talked about it in my video. I've seen a couple people gloss over it or just forgive it or talk about it, but the throttle is really slow to rev, and that kind of detracts from the instant rush that you get when you're riding. It also felt a bit like a restricted version of this, and this bike has some advantages over it. It has a normal throttle, it has the same or similar brakes, I believe it's the same suspension, it feels like it, and the weight is within 1 kilogram of each other. But it's worth pointing out that this one weighs 1 kilo less, dripping wet, and this one holds an extra 3.5 liters of fuel. So I get to carry more fuel for touring, which I love, and I get to weigh less. And I found some forums, and I found some people that after the break-in period, roughly 1,000 kilometers, their Trident is getting better fuel economy than what I got on the test ride. They're getting about 22 kilometers per liter, and I found a forum in Australia where they have this bike because other than England, that's the only English-speaking country that can buy this bike, and they get the same fuel economy. And so far, what I've tested, I'm getting about 17 in Tokyo, which is pretty okay, and I've already put the first 100-some kilometers on it, and that's already gone up to 18 for the exact same type of riding. So I'm optimistic. One other thing against the Trident, I would say for the beginner bikes per se, the 650 range, the Trident is gonna have the most comfortable seat, except for this one. Because this one has the equal amount of comfort, but the back of the seat is much wider. So if you got some junk in the trunk, like I do, this would be more comfortable. And my wife sat on the back of both, though she's hoping to get her own bike in the next few months. She found this one more comfortable. The Trident's passenger section was very lackluster. It even appeared almost tiny for a tail bag. Not that this is a huge comfy seat, but it's a bit more flat and widened by the flatness, so she liked it better. I was worried the foot pegs would be a little tucked up, and they are. You know, it's not my Vstrom. Sitting back to back, Trident and this, CB and this one's slightly more tucked up knees, but not enough that I care. And I've been on the bike for 2 hours today, no complaint. Gonna try to get the first service done in under a week, because there's a holiday called Golden Week coming up, which is, as it sounds, a week where the whole country stops going to work. And I want to go on a trip, and there's not many Triumph dealers, so I've got to be close for the service. So I'll rush through that and then do some mods and go traveling. Comparing it to the Japanese bikes, it just has better specs. Like, it has the same horsepower as the Honda CB, And it has better torque than all the 650-ish bikes, except for the MT, which is actually pretty much a 700cc bike, and it's only 1 torque less. It revs higher than everything except for the CB. It makes its torque similarly in the spots as everything else. It weighs less than the SV, it weighs less than the CB. It weighs more than the MT, and it weighs about the same as the Kawasaki Z. But it has amazing suspension, amazing brakes, which riding the SV, it wasn't that far off. The MT was that far off with those. And the CB was similar. The Trident was pretty much the same. I think it is the same. But then there's the extra features. Having the Brembo brake on the rear, that makes it better. And this has steel braided brake lines. So that's also a nice little feature. They all have great brakes. I'm not the world's greatest rider. The suspension was soft on the MT. The brakes were so-so. The SV was fine with brakes. The suspension was squishier, but I would call it comfortable, not bad. This one's not uncomfortable, but you do feel the things like right there. I felt that. Not in a bad way, but I felt it. And Japan generally has really good roads, so who cares? The other thing is an electronic feature of traction control. The Honda has it, but it's very remedial, and the Trident has the same ones. The quick shifter, again, the Trident has a quick shifter. This has a different quick shifter. Honda has up only, and the MT, you have to go aftermarket and void your warranty, at least in Japan. Same with the SV. And this one has the Triumph quick shifter, which I've been using, and can now say that the clutch has no value outside of city traffic, because I'm just not using it anymore. This is amazing. So it weighs less than most, it gets better fuel economy than most, it's very comfortable. The other big reason has nothing to do with the bike at all. When it came to financing, because, you know, I don't have 10 grand to just toss right now. I needed to finance a bit. I'll say thank you. Triumph right away said, when I said, hey, but I'm foreign, can I finance this bike? They outright said, of course, we wouldn't talk to people that are prejudiced. And I think part of it's that it's not a Japanese company, but Yamaha wouldn't even talk to me in many cases for cash. And there were no demos for Yamahas outside of one shop, and not for the bike I wanted. Like, we still cannot get the new MT-07 or 09 in Japan. We can't even pre-order it yet. So I'm not waiting till next year for this year's bike, even though I'm technically on a 2020. Honda was like, I will try. Suzuki said, I will try. And Triumph said, we will find you something. And they did. So I got a great loan for this bike. In a big way, you can't have a bike that you're not allowed to buy. Sorry, Yamaha. Suzuki's fine, but you can see that it's getting dated. The Honda was good, but again, it's just not quite as much as this, and this is about the same price. One thing to be noted, in Japan, and I'll only say in Japan, I don't know what it is in Europe and Australia. In the US, you can't buy this bike. It was just never there. But in Japan, this and the Trident were within 20,000 yen. That's slightly less than a $200 US difference in price. This is better than the Trident. It was within a $300 US of the Honda CB. It's better than the CB. The only bike I really actually considered versus this, slightly the Trident, but the Suzuki SV650. And the reason is, though the Suzuki is far down on spec, I love that engine, I love the bike, and the price matches the difference. I would have saved over $2,000 getting the Suzuki, but I don't have any regrets so far with my choice. And if you are watching from Japan and you're interested in this Triumph Street Triple 660S, I'm so sorry. You can't have it, because I just bought the last one in the country. When I ordered it, they said, oh, there's actually only two. And when I went to pick it up, they said, actually, the other one sold the same day. So I was picking it up as the last person to pick one up. And Triumph, in my opinion, is making a mistake. But they're discontinuing this model in favor of the Trident. So there'll just be the R, the RS for the Street Triple, and the Trident. I think this is far superior to the Trident, especially if you move up in your riding. The Trident has that throttle, which I just really didn't drive well with. I think a new rider would love it, kind of like the throttle assist on the SV. It's limited in tank range because it's only a 14-liter tank. And when you do the math, remember, you're not going to use all 14 liters. You're going to use maybe 12. If you're looking and you're considering this, if you can get it now, I know there's a few in England. I heard there's a few from a friend in Australia. I think France has a few left. I don't know about any other countries. And again, to my North American viewers, Mexico, USA, and Canada, sorry, it's just not an option. And to add insult to injury, every now and then my wife and I have a conversation about maybe going back to the States. I checked. I can import this with me, and ignoring the cost of shipping, it won't be that much, especially when I get the luxuriant, I have the only one of this European motorcycle in the entire continent, assuming no one else has tried to import one yet. There was a rush here in Japan when the Trident came out, because people assumed Triumph would discontinue this. And people just decided, I want this bike. I want it more than the Trident. So here it is. And here comes the passing zone, so let's see the power. No shortage of power. Sorry, this is just too lovely.